Just east of the gleaming skyscrapers of downtown Los Angeles lies a neighborhood most people pretend doesn't exist. It spans only about 50 city blocks, but holds one of the highest concentrations of homelessness in the United States. Tents line the sidewalks. Trash heaps spill into the streets. The scent of despair hangs in the air. This isn't a third world slum. This is Skid Row, a place the city of LA has both created and abandoned. But how did this place become the epicenter of America's housing crisis? And more disturbingly, why does it seem like it was designed to be that way? Welcome back to Maps Explained, where we explore the hidden histories, forgotten geographies, and chilling consequences of places that don't show up on most tourist maps. Today, we're uncovering Skid Row, Los Angeles, a place many associate with tents and tragedy, but few truly understand. This video will take you deep into the 14 hidden forces that built and maintain this crisis. From secret city policies to devastating medical failures to the rise of fentanyl. Stay with us, because by the end of this video, you'll see that Skid Row isn't just a homeless encampment. It's a window into the soul of America's broken systems. Before it became the epicenter of LA's homeless crisis, Skid Row had already earned its name. In the late 19th century, the area now known as Skid Row was located at the end of the Southern Pacific Railroad. Transients, day laborers, and traveling workers would arrive here by train and congregate in cheap hotels and flophouses. The city's geography was no accident. Skid Row was born from infrastructure. By the 1930s, Skid Row had developed a reputation as a place of last resort, a cluster of missions, cheap liquor stores, and boarding houses where the down and out were allowed to exist, out of sight. The city quietly encouraged this, choosing to centralize services for the poor in one confined space. Over time, Skid Row became a magnet for the unemployed and the displaced. Veterans of World War I and World War II, workers abandoned by industrial decline, and victims of racist redlining policies all wound up in these few square blocks. By the 1960s, the area was already synonymous with urban decay. In the 1960s, single-room occupancy (SRO) hotels, tiny, cheap rooms for rent, were the backbone of housing for low-income Angelenos. Skid Row had over 15,000 of these units. Then came urban renewal. City officials tore down more than half of the SROs, eliminating 7,500 units of affordable housing in the name of revitalization. The result? Thousands were left with nowhere to go. And where did they end up? Skid Row.
Skid Row is mixed with a combination of people, mental health, drug addiction, and then there's people that just stepped out of society. But there's also a place that you can get yourself together because they have a lot of job training sources. Get your job.
Psych patients, crack addicts, heroin addicts, soccer moms and gangsters, artists, Agent Orange vets, the missions, the welfare hotels, the real estate investors, the parolees, the dealers, the sex offenders, and the issues: housing, racism, employment, addiction, mental health. There's a lot going on in 50 square blocks.
In 1976, Los Angeles made a decision that would shape the future of homelessness in the city for decades. It was called the Containment Zone Policy. Instead of distributing homeless services across the city, officials decided to concentrate all aid within Skid Row, turning it into a designated zone for the homeless population. The idea was to centralize services to reduce visible homelessness in other parts of the city. But in reality, this created an urban island of despair, a place where the poorest and most vulnerable were effectively fenced in by policy. If you were homeless in LA, this is where you were pushed and where you were supposed to stay. The groundwork for Skid Row was laid long before 1976. The containment zone simply codified what decades of neglect and marginalization had already built. Imagine living on a street with no bathrooms, no running water, no trash collection. That's Skid Row. In 2017, a hepatitis A outbreak ravaged the area, largely due to a lack of public toilets and hygiene stations. Even today, sanitation is minimal, and residents must rely on a handful of porta potties or walk around for blocks just to find a sink. The city spends millions on policing Skid Row, but can't seem to fund basic hygiene.
If you have an encampment that's right outside of your business, and that tent goes up and the tent gets set on fire, next thing you know, the business is engulfed, maybe vehicles around. I mean, it causes an issue for everyone.
In recent years, downtown LA has undergone a massive revival, with billion-dollar lofts, Michelin-starred restaurants, and rooftop bars springing up just blocks from Skid Row. But that renaissance comes with a price. As the real estate value rises, pressure to clean up Skid Row intensifies. Some residents report harassment, displacement, and police sweeps aimed at making the area more palatable for outsiders. It's urban polishing with a brutal human cost.
It's called Skid Row, and is home to an estimated 2,000 members of Los Angeles County's homeless community.
LA has one of the highest rents in the nation. And the reason why there's so many tents out here is because people can't afford to live in a house.
Even if you want to get off the streets, the system doesn't always let you. Many shelters in LA require sobriety, curfews, or paperwork. That sounds fine, until you consider how many residents of Skid Row suffer from mental illness, addiction, or lost IDs. For some, sleeping in a tent feels safer than the rules, surveillance, or risk of theft in shelters. In 2006, LA launched the Safer Cities Initiative. Its goal, reduce crime in Skid Row. But its methods were controversial. Over the next few years, tens of thousands of citations were issued for jaywalking, sitting on the sidewalk, or having a tent. Those who couldn't pay were jailed. This turned poverty into a criminal offense, creating a revolving door of incarceration. Where the state fails, others move in. Gangs have established a presence in Skid Row, recruiting vulnerable residents to sell drugs or commit crimes. Many are paid in narcotics, deepening their addiction and dependence. Skid Row's isolation makes it a perfect zone for exploitation, and residents often have no protection or recourse.
This is Skid Row, Los Angeles. This is one of the roughest, most dangerous communities in America, basically. And it's really convenient because you have a lot of fugitives from the law, murderers, robbers, stuff like that.
The biggest one is Grape Street, from what I see. But there's other gangs. There's bounty hunters, roller 60s, Hoovers, Black Pete Stones. They all come in and they have to get the blessing to be able to work there.
And they're typically gang members.
Right. They do the best they can to blend in, and most of them pretend to be homeless. Nowadays, some of them aren't even pretending anymore because they know the consequences are very minimal if they get caught.
It's extremely controversial. It's called the harm reduction service. Those who support it say it prevents the spread of disease. Those against it say it's enabling drug addicts.
To curb disease, nonprofits hand out clean needles, condoms, and even crack pipes. The goal is to reduce the spread of HIV and hepatitis C. But critics argue that this enables drug use, and worse, some residents resell supplies to buy stronger drugs like fentanyl. It's a battle between saving lives in the short term and healing people in the long term.
It saves lives. Now, we are told that a lot of local nonprofits are doing the same thing, handing out free meth pipes to people living in Skid Row.
LA is one of the wealthiest cities in the world. It's home to movie stars, tech billionaires, and beachfront mansions. And yet, within walking distance from it all, Skid Row represents third world conditions. Efforts to solve homelessness have been reactive, not proactive, and often fueled by PR rather than policy. Hospitals have been caught discharging patients directly onto Skid Row, sometimes still in gowns or bandages. It's known as patient dumping. In 2007, Kaiser Permanente was sued after surveillance video showed a cab dropping off a disoriented woman outside a Skid Row shelter with no plan or medication.
We seek to have Kaiser found guilty and appropriately punished for falsely imprisoning Ms. Reyes and for placing her in grave danger by dumping her on Skid Row, miles from where she normally resides.
Patient dumping continues today, secretly, quietly. In the 1990s, California began closing state mental hospitals to reduce costs. The idea was to shift to community-based treatment. But the treatment centers were never fully funded. Thousands of people with severe mental illness were suddenly released into society, many with nowhere to go. Skid Row became their final stop. Today, more than 1/3 of Skid Row residents suffer from serious mental illnesses, schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, PTSD, but services are stretched thin. Psychiatric beds are rare, and appointments can take months. Without treatment, people deteriorate in public, becoming victims of violence or perpetrators. Addiction is another problem.
People experiencing homelessness are oftentimes experiencing homelessness because their substance use became the driving force in their life. They weren't able to keep their relationships, they weren't able to keep their employment, they weren't able to keep their housing, not able to keep their educational status. So they end up driven by dependence on a substance and then losing everything behind it.
The City Journal estimates that drug sales in Skid Row is a $200 million annual enterprise, fueling a massive black market in everything from stolen bicycle parts to human organs. And now, the deadliest chapter yet, fentanyl. This synthetic opioid is 50 times stronger than heroin, cheap to make, easy to smuggle, and often mixed into drugs without users knowing. In 2023, Skid Row saw hundreds of overdose deaths. Even naloxone can't keep up.
The problem is fentanyl has killed a lot of people in LA County. I think it was about 1,900 last year. And where I work alone in a place called Skid Row, I think we're at 170 right now, 170 people who've died from fentanyl.
It's not just a housing crisis anymore. It's a mass casualty event. Skid Row is not unfixable, but it can't be cleaned up with surface-level solutions like police sweeps or luxury condos. This requires long-term investment and a shift from criminalization to compassion. Crime and addiction are symptoms of deeper issues. To solve them, LA needs a coordinated harm reduction strategy. Sanitation, mental illness, and poverty are all public health issues, not moral failings. This means public restrooms, mobile hygiene stations, and universal mental health access must be treated as citywide infrastructure, not charity. And perhaps most importantly, we must address income inequality and the rising cost of living. If not, Skid Row will simply reappear under a different name, in a different zip code. Skid Row is not an accident. It's not a natural outcome of poverty or bad luck. It's a man-made landscape, shaped by decades of urban planning, policy decisions, systemic neglect, and broken promises. From the demolition of housing, to the criminalization of poverty, to the fentanyl deaths happening today, every layer of Skid Row tells a piece of a bigger story. A city, a state, and a country that know how to build empires of wealth, but not how to care for its most vulnerable citizens. If this video opened your eyes, click the like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for more deep dives into the stories your map won't tell you. What do you think is the real solution to the Skid Row crisis? Let us know in the comments. Until next time, stay curious, stay compassionate, and remember, the places we choose to forget often reveal the most about who we are.